Welcome to the Unconventional Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Moses, certified financial planner, licensed realtor, and founder of Me Financial. If you're an accredited investor feeling overwhelmed by managing your portfolio and looking for alternative investment strategies that go beyond the traditional stock market, you're in the right place. Let's head into today's episode so you can start taking control of your financial future. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening. Today is going to be a solo show, and it is based upon this book that I read, and I got it at a free little library just on a random walk, called The Gratitude Diaries by Janice Kaplan. And she goes through and does gratitude for all kinds of things, her job, her family, her husband. But there's one chapter in here that is about money, of course. And there's something that stuck with me that I just seriously cannot shake it. And that's why we're doing this podcast. Because there's a part in there that talks about people that had money. They either came from nothing and then got more. And they did this experiment where they had this candy jar and they said it was for the kids. And when it was, they had hidden cameras and all of that. And the people that did not, quote unquote, have money left the jar alone, but the wealthy people took candy from the kids almost 95% of the time. And I was really upset by this. And I think with what is going on in the world with the big tech and what's going on in politics and what we are seeing with people being able to buy a lot of things and the discrepancy between the rich and the poor, I wanted to do a podcast on this so that hopefully we don't end up like this. I certainly don't want to be like this. And so I thought I would give some examples and then kind of give my own things because, I often say that I do this job I originally got into this job because I needed to learn about money. I just thought money just grew on trees and I was like, what? I have to go earn this. I need to do things. And I have learned so much, not only about budgeting or the attitudes of people with money or that they don't have to worry about money. And if you've listened, you know that that's my number one goal is I don't want to worry about money. I want to have, low costs and be able to do whatever I want. But with this book has some examples that I really want to read to you guys because we all know, you can get online and read about being grateful and what it does for you. We all know this, right? We all know that we need to sometimes step back from always doing and trying to earn to being grateful for what we have. There is a fine line, right? There's a fine line between having goals and being grateful for the health that we have, the wealth that we have, living in Arizona, whatever it might be that you are grateful for. And that's what this book kind of goes into is it talks a lot, about what happens. And then she actually meets with a lot of people that I'm going to read some of this stuff to you from Harvard and from UCLA. Some of these, they are college professors doing studies on this. And so I want to read some of this to you. But before we get started is that I do think that I think the underlying thing that what happens when you read about people with money and they say, well, I earned it. I worked really hard for this. This is my hard-earned money. And that's what's happening now too, right? Houses are so expensive and young people are saying, well, yeah, but your situation was really different. And then the older people are saying, well, I had to scrape by and I had to work really hard and I was never home because I worked. And I think gratitude can come in here. Because no one would ever say, let's say that I compliment you on your outfit. You would never be like, well, thanks. I made this. I picked out, all of this and I knew how to sew it. No, you found it at a store and then you bought it. And so, yes, thank you for my ability to put this outfit together, but you would never take credit for the entire thing. And I think that's the same thing, especially in America. If you've made money, you need to be grateful for the laws that we have. I know a lot of people complain about the banking laws or, the real estate laws and all of that. But this is where it comes in. I am very grateful for this because everybody thinks they're in some huge competition. And it really bothers the crap out of me, honestly. It bothers me even networking and starting my business. Like I'm not in I mean, kind of I'm in competition with other advisors, but kind of I'm not. Like I don't want all the clients out there. Like there are plenty of clients for all of us. And just like with money, we can all make money together. We can all like live our lives and make money together and, grow our wealth together. It is not a competition. Just because, Anne makes money doesn't mean that Bob isn't going to make money. I guess there's probably such individual situations, but as a whole, I don't think that's true. And so I think a lot of what this is just my theory. I have no idea if this is true, but my theory about this whole, well, I earned it. And, I did my blood, sweat, and tears to get all of this money. You did, but you also had all of these laws in place that allowed you to do that, to keep the people that are so competitive out, right? And I'm talking the people that are so competitive that they are criminals. Because if we lived somewhere that doesn't have, that doesn't have laws that are as great, then, or as tight, I should say, then the crime runs rampant. And I'm not saying we don't have crime, and I'm not saying that, don't get all this black and white thinking on me here. You need to see the nuance that I'm talking about. But, there's this part that you need to be grateful for where we live. We have police, we have fire trucks that keep you safe. You live in, what if somebody gave you a job when you were first starting out and they took a chance on you? You need to be grateful to them. What about college? Was your college paid for, or did you take loans? Who took a chance on you there? I will forever be grateful to my parents. I never had college debt. I didn't even know that like most people had college debt until I got into this job. And I thought, oh, everybody's, parents pay for their college. I'm an only child. If I had a brother or sister, then that probably wouldn't have been the case. So I just think that there are a lot of things that you can be grateful for. Like there is nobody that got to where they are on their own. And so for anyone to be saying, yes, like I did blood, sweat, and tears, and, I don't have anybody to thank but myself, is just a effing flat out lie. And like, I'm just so sick of hearing this. Like, it's so selfish. And like, again, we can all make money together and not be in competition. So just kind of like laying the base there about the things that I think. And I think that we get this attitude of I worked so hard and I, blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of it comes down to we're forced to go to jobs that we don't really like. And because we're doing all of these things that we don't really enjoy in the day, then we're keeping a tally, right? I don't want to get up at 7 a.m. I don't want to blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff, because it is grunt work. And we don't want to do grunt work. We want to do stuff that's fun. And so I will also encourage you to try to make your work fun, or at least somewhat enjoyable. And, I am not an expert in that either. Like I try every day, believe me. But I created my job, I created my business, and there's still crap that I hate doing. Like I just, I will be complaining the entire time that I am doing it. But I will have to say that the more that I have let go of my preconceived notions, the more that I have let go of having to have it a certain way, the more money I've made and the easier it has been. And not only that, the people that have come to me have been like friends. I mean, like just yesterday, I was getting off the call with a client and we said that we loved each other. Like I love them and they are like my family. And so I really hope that for you, if you have clients or if you have people that you work with, like it is possible to do that. And the more that I have let go, and just some days I'm like, I am just not feeling this, like being in alignment when I go to work, when I actually am sitting down to do the work, it's more about the energy that I'm bringing to the day than it is about working all day. So I'm probably going to do another episode about like what my work day looks like, but that's not what this one's about. So I want to go through some of these studies that were found. And I really, the only reason I'm going to do this is because these blow my mind, because I don't view people that have money as bad. Like I look online and I see these people talking about rich people like they're all bad and it's just not true. Like look at Warren Buffett. Like I know right now we're in this moment where the media is like really being taken over by a lot of billionaires. And, there's a lot of scary stuff happening. Let's just be honest. And I can see people having that. But for the majority, okay, if you are upper middle class or you are in that 1 or even the top 5%, most people are not bad. Okay. But I do think that most people would say, I worked my ass off for this money and, no matter what. And I thought what was so interesting is that there was a psychologist at the University of California in Irvine, and his name was Piff, and he was studying how easily we readily overlook the advantages we've been given. So in one of his experiments, he invited people to play Monopoly, and he made it very clear that the game was rigged. So one of the two players, chosen randomly, started with twice as much cash as the other. They earned twice as much for passing go, and they rolled 2 dice instead of 1 to move around the board so they could move around, twice as fast. And what he noticed was that the quote unquote rich players, they quickly took on signs of dominance. So they were smacking their pieces. They always took the Rolls Royce. They were like smacking their pieces aggressively around the board and celebrating very smugly with each success. And when asked to describe the game afterwards, the winners pointed out how clever they had been to buy certain properties and earn their victory. Almost nobody attributed their success to the initial flip of a coin that got them into their position of privilege. And I cannot tell you how freaking true this is. Like when you're just looking at houses, I should say, or taking some people to look at houses, when the down payment is from their parents, I mean, the kids are acting like they went out and like earned this money and that they're so much better. Just because you have money does not make you better than other people. Like I can tell you, there are so many shitty, stupid lives are a mess. Like it just, to me, like, and that's one of the things that this job has taught me is that the people that have money, they are no different than the people that don't have money. They just happen to have money. Like it literally, it's kind of like take an example of drivers. Okay. There's crappy women drivers. There's crappy men drivers. There's crappy every single race drivers. So you can't like compartmentalize it like, into like all women are really bad at this or all men are really bad at this. Like that's just not true. And it's the same with money. Like these people they're just people and they happen to have money. Just like they're just people and they happen to be skinny, or they're just people and they happen to be fat. Like it just is. And I'm not saying that there's not people out there that don't work really hard and break through those barriers and, but it's just, I will never understand when people have money and then they act like they are just like so much better, because they're not. Like I can just tell you, like I get off the phone with some people and I'm like, man, they are really dumb. Like they have no clue what they're doing, but money just like flows to them. Like it I don't know what it is. It's their aura, it's their energy, it's whatever, the world that they were born in. I have no idea why, but money just kind of flows to them. But relationships are such a challenge, and they've been married and divorced 4 times. And that is what they tend to worry about like all the time. So I really want to express this. Like if you're having issues with this and thinking, oh, those rich people are, cause like it doesn't make any sense that you would then have money and start to get money if you're always bad mouthing people with money. Like you wouldn't want to be like them. Do you see what I'm saying? So like if you want to be like them and if you do want more money, then you've got to start seeing some good qualities in some of these people that have money. Because I'm just telling you that some people, they just have it. It just flows to them, or they were born with it. A lot of it is just people born with it because, generational wealth is a real thing. And I used to think that wasn't a real thing. But then like as my career went on, I'm like, oh yeah, this is absolutely a real thing. Just like my parents paying for college. like how I started out like so much higher than everybody else because I didn't have any debt. So some of the other things, the examples that they gave, is this BMW example, is that he did another example of driving habits of people. And mind you, this book is a little old, okay? So I think everybody has a BMW now, but not everybody. A lot of people do. But they did a test about BMWs and economy models of cars with Toyotas. And in California, it's against the law to not stop at a crosswalk. But watching at one busy intersection, he found that 50% of the people driving a BMW or equivalent didn't pause for pedestrians. And then every single one of the modest cars followed the law and stopped. So between the BMW drivers and the Monopoly players, I mean, it was kind of pretty clear to him that the people with wealth were not appreciative of others. They weren't really thinking, they're just thinking they can do whatever they want. Everybody else is just a peon. And it just fascinates me because money is like if you have a big spoke, right? Money is just like one piece of the pie. You've also got your health and your relationships and your job. You've got all these things. And so you want to be well balanced. And so if you only have the wealth figured out and then you're crapping on everybody else, you're never going to have good relationships and you're never going to have that sense of well-being. And I think that's what people are looking for. So you can have, I do think that money brings a sense of happiness and a sense of freedom, right? Because you can live in the house that you want, drive the car that you want, and go to the concerts and those sorts of things. But there's a difference between happiness and having that money and then well-being and feeling secure and feeling loved. And I feel like people kind of get that mixed up. And so I'm just, again, I don't know what your situation is, but these are some observations of going through the years of doing a lot of the inner work that I have done. So is there anything else? Oh, and I think that kind of goes into this other experiment that they did. And I know you guys have heard about this one, is they gave everybody money in an envelope and, it's just $5. And they said, you can spend it on yourself or you can give it away. And obviously the people that gave it away, they felt more well-being. They felt like it was memorable. They could remember that day. They actually remembered that day for years on end. Versus if you spend it on yourself and you just go buy like a coffee or a tea, you're not really going to remember that, right? It's kind of like when I get money as a gift, I put it aside because if I just put it in my wallet and go spend it on my kids or, whatever at the grocery store, I don't remember it. I don't, it's just like, oh yeah, it just kind of went into the pot. And, when you're spending it on other people, then you actually, you feel like you're doing something good. You've made their day. I'll often do this with stuff that I'm selling online. I give tons of stuff away for free just because I want to make their day. Or I will sell it for like $5. And it's probably worth like 40 just because I want I want it, them to remember like, hey, I got this as such a deal. And it just makes me so happy, cause like somebody compliments you, women especially, compliments you on something. And then you're like, oh my God, I got this for $20 at TJ Maxx or, something like that. So those are the things that you remember. And so I just want you to think about that as you start to make more money, that yes, you are working hard. Yes, we are all out there, trying to be creative and figure it out and make it to the next level. But we never do that alone. Your husband, your wife, your family, you inherited money. I mean, there are a lot of things. It's kind of like talking about Bill Gates. People are like, oh my God, he invented this computer. Well, yeah, his dad gave him $1 million. And what kind of connections did his dad have in order to like do all of that, to get the education and he was starting out. I always picture it like a swimming pool. Poor people are starting at the bottom of the swimming pool. And if you're even starting like at the ground to be able to go to school, to have some connections that your parents can give you or your family, whatever, you're starting at the ground and you only have to go from the ground up. Whereas poor people, they're starting at the bottom of the freaking pool and have to get to the ground. And they might not get there until they're 45 years old. And it's a lot harder, to get up there when you have debt and things like that. So there's just a lot of stories to think about here. And it has just really bothered me. So I wanted to do an episode on that. And I hope that you get something from this because, it's hard to stay grateful all the time, right? Because we are human and we are very negative just by nature. And so, I hope that you can sit around and be grateful for, your husband or wife or your parents or your brother or sister or the person that gave you a break. When I first started out, this guy, he gave me a break and I worked as an assistant in his office. Did I work really hard? Yeah. But did he give me the time to work on, if I had a client, he helped me with the file to make sure I didn't mess anything up. Like, that's priceless. And so I wouldn't even be where I am if it wasn't for him. So I will be forever grateful to him because I don't know where I would be, if I had to go to a job where they took 60% of everything that I made. So where would I be now? I don't know. I probably wouldn't even have my own business because they would have taken so much of it. And then, like the clients would have been theirs. So there's just a lot of different things like that. So that I think that you can turn it around to be grateful for things. And I want to give you one more example is that, so I do a lot of alternatives and I used to kind of badmouth the people that worked at like a like big warehouse, like Merrill Lynch or something like that, because they would sell an alternative and they would make a 7% commission. And to me, I'm like 7%, like that's ridiculous, right? But now I'm grateful to them because they actually make me look good because their situation is I can go to people and say, you don't have to pay that 7%. You can invest $100,000 and you'll have $107,000 day one because I don't make a commission and it just goes right back to you. And they're like, wow, how does that work? So, I turned it around to be grateful for that because I wouldn't look so good if they weren't there. Like, am I upset that people I feel like get ripped off? Sure. But, that's their path. Maybe they're happy with that advisor and I don't want that person as a client. So, I just think that you can turn things around a lot to be grateful for the situation that you have. And, that's what everybody says about like traveling to Africa and, those sorts of things. But maybe we can just do it right here. Because I definitely think with the situation that we're in and how toxic online is that being grateful and being able to work towards something, that you have a dream that you are working towards and that you want to build, that has so much more energy behind it and love behind it. And if you have more people that are building that vision, you are going to go so much further than sitting online and bitching all day. So there you have it, everybody. I am glad I finally got that out because I have been trying to do this episode for weeks and I have not known how exactly I wanted to structure it. So I'm really glad that it all came together. And I think this is the longest solo episode that I've ever done. So congratulations for making it through. So again, it is the Gratitude Diaries by Janice Kaplan, if you're really interested in it. And it's a pretty old book, honestly. I just picked it up again at a free little library. And I hope you got something from this. You guys, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening to the Unconventional Investor Podcast. I hope you feel more confident in how you can grow your wealth using the strategies I shared in this episode. If you're ready to take the next step in diversifying your portfolio outside the stock market with alternative investments, head to mefinancial.net/contact us to book a 15-minute consult call with me. Let's discuss how we can work together to achieve your financial goals. Until then, I'll see you on the next episode.